Today is March 25th, 2016, and Alan, you are exiting treatment today. Today is your final day.
Yes, I am.
We want to get to kind of know a little bit about your story. So, tell us how old you are, how long you feel like you've been ill for, and
Sure.
a little bit of what led you here to Sponaugle Wellness Institute.
Sure. Alan Bratz, 60 years old, just as of last month, and came here September 28th, so as close as we can be to 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
And I was sick for a solid 12 years before coming here, before finding out about the clinic here. And my illness started with intermittent fatigue, weakness, brain fog, aches and pains like the flu, and a self-employed electrical contractor, electrical engineer, and pool contractor, and had a business of our own, my wife and I. And at that time, at the age of 48, we probably had, anywhere 12, 13 employees, real successful business going, and all of a sudden I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. And it had been happening slowly. It didn't hit all of a sudden, but it's the kind of thing you think, well, I just worked a little too hard yesterday or the week before.
Sure.
I wasn't an office guy, even though we owned the company. I was in the field every day, hitting it hard. And I was used to that. I was in great physical shape. I was eating well, taking a lot of supplements already, and took real good care of myself. But the weakness just continued to get more frequent, and then finally, at one point there, I literally just couldn't get out of bed in the mornings and went to the docs. And after 2 or 3 doc visits, finally got somebody to say, well, you got mono again. I had it as a kid. Mm-hmm. And so we figured, okay, it's mono. So I rested for a little while and kind of sort of got better, but really never came back, and went back to work and kept pushing through it. That's just what you do, right? You push through it. Took some more supplements, and then at some point there in that first year, I knew I just wasn't getting better. My strength wasn't back, my head wasn't back, and so I started the doc chase. And don't recall whether I started with it. Well, I do recall. I started with a doctor. Actually, he was the head of internal medicine in Winter Park Hospital, and it was. I had been to him in the past as my family doctor, and then he converted to a concierge practice.
Sure.
But I liked him, as far as doctors go, and I figured, well, it's worth the money. I'm going to go ahead and stick with him and let him run the gamut on me. And he couldn't come up with a thing. Blood tests. During that time, I remember a couple of emergency room visits at night where Jackie was so scared because I just literally was shut down. And the emergency room people would just take blood tests and urine tests and check me out and say, nothing wrong with you, you're fine. And they would laugh at my supplement list.
Sure.
We literally had a pre-typed up supplement list I took with me everywhere I went, and they would laugh at it. And so at that point, the doc was just doing what he could to keep my brain going, and his best attempt at that was antidepressants and or anti-anxiety pills to help me sleep, because I was not sleeping at all. And so I don't know how long I went there and stuck with him, but over the next 12 years before coming here, I'd seen multiple doctors, at least. I have a list back home, probably at least 10 or 12 MDs, and another 12 or 14 combined naturopaths, holistic doctors, acupuncturists, hypnotists, massage therapists, you name it.
Sure.
You go to one person and you go, this person might be able to help you. And so it was almost, my kids used to tell me, which doctor are you going to this week, Dad? But they knew I was sick. Mm-hmm. But they just, couldn't believe that we couldn't find an answer to what was going on. And so that went on for 12 years. And during that point, Jackie even had and my staff at the office that insisted we put a futon in my office so that during the day I could come back to the shop and lay down and rest. And it was just crazy because there were days I could go at it, and there were days that just wasn't going to happen. Days I'd start out fine, and 1 or 2 o'clock, all of a sudden I'm walking back to the truck. The legs would go like jelly, and it was all over the place.
Sure.
So frustrating to say the least. And then at some point in there, probably 3 or 4 or 5 years ago now, we even went to Mayo Clinic and checked in there for a few days and got the full workup. I saw at least 8, if not 10, specialists. You know, they just set up a regimen for me to run through the mill. Infectious disease specialist, cardiologist, urologist, psychiatrist, phlebotomist, you name it. You know, there was a whole list of specialists. And after the few days of running through the mill with that, they all their reports would come back to the one doctor that was overseeing everything. And I remember the day we checked out, we went back in expecting to hear something, and sitting in his office, and pulls up his computer screen and flips it on and turns around to us and says, "Well, Mr. Bronze, you're what we call a blue man." And I said, "A blue man?" And they said, "Yeah, here's a list," and he's going through the pages from each of the specialists on the screen. You know, here's the urologist report, here's the infectious disease report, here's your cardiology report, here's your autoimmune and allergist, and everybody's report. You notice everything's in blue on the screen. I go, "Yeah." And I'm thinking blue is not good. Blue, right? Code blue. Blue is dead, right? But he says, "Well, a blue man around here means that all your tests are normal." I said, "So you're telling me you didn't find anything?" And he said, "There's nothing wrong with you, Mr. Bronze. You're fine." And set me up then with the psychiatrist. On the way out, sweet lady, but it was just the same old thing. More antidepressants, anti-anxieties. There was even some talk about giving me some bipolar meds, and I said, "We're not going there."
Sure.
So that was my Mayo Clinic ordeal. And so I went back to hunting for somebody that could figure this thing out. And you know, fast forward to the last year, we had to close down our business. I just couldn't do it anymore. We let all our employees go one by one, and had to bring the business back to the house. Set up an office in the home, and Jackie and I just did what we could do. My backlog of jobs was approaching 70. The last number I remember for sure was 68 or 69 jobs just waiting on me. So the stress of that, the phone was still ringing. We had an amazing client base that relied on us, and I was barely able to work a day a week if I was lucky. Till finally I couldn't even leave the house. And so at that point, Jackie found Sponaugle Wellness Center online. I don't know how we'd not found it before, but it was God's timing, not ours.
Sure.
So we called and spoke to Doug, and when we heard the financial part of the story, we just said there's no way, and put it on the back burners. And I tried another doctor that we found over near Orlando area, Lyme, quote-unquote specialist, and nobody had mentioned Lyme to me at this point. Maybe come up in some conversations with some of the naturopaths, but nobody was serious about it. So we tried this Lyme doctor in Orlando for a while, and I was getting nowhere. I'd see him once a week if I was lucky, and it was what I call the poke and hope method. Let's try this. Oh, you got nothing in a week? Well, let's try this week. Let's try this next week. And I told him one day, I said, "Doc, please put away the water pistol and take out the shotgun.
Sure.
I can't work anymore. I've got zero income. I'm crumbling." And we got nowhere. And so at that point, Sponaugle Wellness Center kept reappearing with Jackie's and my conversations at the dinner table every night. And we called and spoke with Doug again. And probably at that point is when we made our first visit over here to meet with you. And the entire time we just didn't see how we could make it happen. But again, as things got more and more desperate to where I was literally house ridden, we made the decision to put it in the Lord's hands and come over here.
Mm.
And it was the best decision we ever made. We checked in the 28th, and driving over here, that's when I just felt the Spirit tell me it was not even about my physical healing, but that the spiritual journey that would happen here was going to overshadow even the physical healing, if that was even a part of the journey.
Right.
And it turns out that Jackie and I got both. We were spiritually blessed by the staff here, by Doc, obviously, by our conversations with the patients in the drip room, and my workup that Doc did just blew away anything that had ever been done. I mean, in total, of all the tests and labs that 20 some odd docs had done with me in the past 12 years, you know, the things Doc did before we even got here. Well, we made that trip over here that one day to do all the labs that day here. And the tests he ran were just far and above anything anybody else had done. And when we came back over and sat down with Doc to go over the results, we were just blown away. You know, my industrial toxins were 90 some odd percentile. Nobody ever mentioned industrial toxins to me. I had no idea. Pesticides were 70 or 80, 90 percentile. My mitochondrial function was in the toilet. The black mold showed up in my red blood cells. We had no idea. My kidneys were barely functioning. I remember when Doc, we were in the room next door, and when Doc said that I was nearing kidney failure, Jackie just broke down and cried. She was so scared. I mean, she knew how sick I was, but when you start hearing the real McCoy all of a sudden,
Sure.
from somebody who obviously knows what he's doing, when we'd spent 12 years just with absolutely no information whatsoever, to finally sit in a room with a man who understood exactly what was going on in my system, it was overwhelming. And I was overjoyed, but of course I react differently than Jackie does to that stuff when she hears, you know, I'm nearing kidney failure. She lost it, but and it made total sense once Doc explains it. The toxins have been just dumping in my system with nowhere to go because I couldn't detox because of the genetics that Doc showed us that nobody had ever explained to us. So without being able to detox, the kidneys and livers finally said, we're done. And it made total sense. So we started protocol, and here we are, March 24th, February 25th, and I'm going home a healthy man.
Let's talk about your progress. You know, how did that go for you? What symptoms did you see disappear as you started going, and where do you find yourself right now?
Yeah, the first thing I noticed was my first real aha moment was a day, I would say we were probably 6 weeks into the program, 7 weeks. I've got calendars that I kept, and every day I would track myself. I've been doing this for years at home, so I did it here as well, and I would rate, you know, from 1 to 10 when I wake up, and then I would rate myself for the day from 1 to 10, and my mental state, my physical state, and then any other things that would happen during the day. So I've got a complete log of that from day to day. And I think it's about 5 or 6 weeks into it when my brain came alive. And I remember where I was sitting. I can remember who was standing around me. Doc was there. because he had tried a new supplement on me to wake up my frontal lobes. And when that stuff hit, tears ran down my face, and Jackie thought something was wrong, and I said, these aren't anything other but tears of joy, honey. I said, my brain is alive.
Sure.
And Doc was smiling, and Amy and Gary were smiling. I said, I haven't felt this good in 15 years, at least. It was just it was an amazing moment to be able to think again and have thoughts. I remember what I said. I said, my brain is juicy again. I was thinking thoughts that had been gone for at least 15, 20 years. So that was my first big turnaround. And then I felt my strength coming back. You know, how the protocol goes here, we have a few good days, and we have little
Absolutely.
kill days. Crash and burn a little bit, come back. Crash and burn a little bit, come back. And every time I came back stronger. Our apartment, we had 28 steps up to our apartment every day, and that was my test. You know, each day I could tell how easy the steps were, how difficult they were. And yeah, it was coming back slowly. The brain kept being revitalized and energized, and the body was coming along with it. Yeah. So to the point now, if I rate myself as coming in here at a 1, you know, physically and mentally, on a scale of 0 to 10, I'm leaving every bit of a solid 8, if not a 9.
Right.
Yeah.
And at 60, you know, you're not.
And at 60, yes. Yes. I honestly am leaving here better than I've felt in 20 years. I have every intention of getting back to working out and getting into some gymnastics again, and the stuff I was doing before I got sick. And 60 years old doesn't mean anything to me right now.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit more about your outlook. So you're looking to return to all that. What else are you looking forward to going home to right now?
The biggest thing that I'm looking forward to is a changed outlook on life, very much changed. It may sound contradictory, but with the increased strength and mental awareness and juice that I'm feeling, I'm in a much calmer place. The rat race thoughts that I used to think were energy and good are they're gone. My anxiety is something I should have mentioned up front. My anxiety when I came in here was through the roof. I literally couldn't sleep more than a half an hour at a time at night. 45 minutes if I was lucky, and I would wake up every one of those moments out of crazy dreams, kicking, flailing, literally threw myself out of bed multiple times out of ridiculous dreams. So that anxiety is gone. There's a calm strength in me now that hasn't been around forever. I've never felt this calm strength, this calm peace, this peaceful strength that is really the biggest benefit that I'm going home with, because I know even though I'm stronger than I've been and I'm mentally more capable of doing much more than I've ever done, the calm spirit that I'm going home with says I don't have to run the race anymore.
Right. That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to seeing if I'm even going to continue with the business. Thank God my customers are still hanging for me. I had a good friend in the business who just took my phone number and was taking care of business, so the company is still alive and well, and my customers are looking forward to me coming back, but and I'm sure I will. I'll get back to it, but I think the Lord may have something bigger and better for me.
Yes, sir. Well, tell me just in closing, if you could provide any kind of endorsement for Dr. Sponaugle, what we do here at Sponaugle Wellness Institute, what would you say to someone who is sick, someone like yourself who doesn't have a lot of answers, has more questions than answers as far as their sickness is concerned? What would you say to them?
I would absolutely listen to this story and be as understanding and as tender, if you will, as I can, because when people first hear, because it's happened over the months that I've been here, talking to friends and family about it, it's very difficult for somebody who hasn't experienced this kind of healing and the kind of protocol that Doc employs here. When you haven't experienced it, you can't fathom it.
Sure.
Because all you know is what's out there in the medical world. It's a pill-based protocol out there. And so I would approach this person tenderly, but, you know, cut to the chase at some point and say, if you truly want to be healed,
Sure.
if you truly want an opportunity to be healed and make a difference in your life, then Doc Sponaugle is the guy to see. And it would be worth every effort on their part to get here and just watch the, I hate to use the word magic, but it's just the right one for
Sure.
word for it. Just watch the magic that happens here. I've seen it so many times in that drip room, in people so much more ill than me. And when you see somebody get up out of a wheelchair and walk the first day in there in that drip room, just erupts in applause and clapping for people who are walking for the first time that we've seen, or people coming out of situations where they couldn't talk or couldn't see, couldn't move certain body parts, and then all of a sudden they're doing those things. And I've literally witnessed, you know, there's no other way to say it, just miracles of healing.
Sure.
And yeah, this is the place for anybody I know that has a hope to be healed. This is the place for them to be.
Well, Alan, I can't tell you how much I appreciate your testimony. That truly is what it is, and it's you know, thank you for sharing your story. Very, very excited for you in the future. Just can't thank you enough.